When Steve Jobs died, we forgot how to market. And then there was this lull. And then Elon came back with this incredible Jobsian style marketing. And now everybody's adopted it. And marketing is cool again.
It could be that the actual innovation of Silicon Valley is the greatest fucking marketing in the world.
It's not that we're better at marketing. It's that we have the megaphones to be good at marketing, because marketing is only digital these days.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to More or Less, pre-Thanksgiving edition.
Hey, Jess.
How's everyone doing?
Good. I was working today. And then for the last 30 minutes, I was working on our holiday cards. And have you guys played with the Canva integration with GPT? It's actually so good. I made my holiday cards in minutes.
I'm just psyched because I heard from a bunch of listeners today, which this never happens consistently, but I learned about a bunch of listeners this morning that I'm just giving a shout out to. We've got some great people in Brooklyn. I didn't know Ryan Hoover listens every week. We've got all kinds of good people listening.
Yeah. Hi, Ryan Hoover.
Hey, Ryan.
Well, no pressure, folks, but historically, this episode, Time to Thanksgiving Week, is one of our best. I got to say. I don't know if you remember the Altman years. Sam, tell us. And Sam, hello from the Surf Shack. I see you've traded in the pool house.
I mean, I got to be the shack at all times.
Got a lot of different types of houses.
A house would be generous for this structure.
We like structures.
It's just a structure.
We like structures. Well, they both have saunas in them. So that connects them.
I mean, come on. I've talked about my Surf Shack before. I mean, it's a work of art. We don't have to go into it, but it's...
No. I remember, what was it, 2 years ago? We were in Bolinas doing our thing. Sorry, West Marin, what were we supposed to call it? Anyway. And this was like the Altman got kicked out of OpenAI back in. That was fun. I remember that.
That was really fun. That was it. And I think that just set off this pattern of amazing Thanksgiving week episodes, just when everyone's dying to tune in. But yeah, so Britt, let's do our check-in. So you made you made your holiday card with Canva and GPT.
Well, I always do a little twist on our Morin holiday card, and I'm not going to give away.
Last year was Where's Waldo, right? I was searching for you guys. Yeah.
Right. But I used Fiverr last year to have this illustrator animate us hidden into this huge Christmas scene. And that was really fun.
That is pretty symbolic. You replaced the freelance animator with the AI.
No. I mean, I actually paid someone last year. They just were in the Philippines.
No, I know. But this year you didn't have to pay anyone.
Yeah. And the point is that the only labor it's cutting out is the Philippines labor. It's that's who's suffering.
Oh, okay. This is going worse than I thought.
Britt hasn't paid an American to do work for her in ages.
I paid Sam Altman. Come on, guys.
But did you use the free version? I mean,
I paid $200 a month for that shit.
To be clear, you actually cost Sam Altman money. You didn't pay Sam Altman.
I did do a lot of brainstorming.
He just underwrote part of your holiday cards, actually.
It's really unclear you can slice and dice the financials in a million ways to make a million arguments. So I'm sure there's some accounting calculation that shows you didn't cost them money. But
all I'm saying, though, is I feel a little bit bad for Minted and Shutterfly and all these companies that have these amazing templates that people use for their holiday cards. And
I use Minted.
But to change to Canva this year, a la ChatGPT, was an anomaly for me. So I'm curious how much share those companies are going to lose for the holidays this year. Just saying.
Well, the thing I was amazed by is I don't understand how holiday cards are made. And I asked Jess, you were like, who do you want to send the holiday cards to? And you sent me a 600-line spreadsheet with everyone's addresses, which answered a question for me, which is where do people live? I had no idea you were keeping this for years. And I was actually quite impressed with it.
This is what the women of the households do, Sam. I have to update this list every year, and it's so annoying because I have to literally go through it and be like, oh, wait, I think those people might have moved. And then I have to figure out how to reach out to them. And I'm sure Jess does this too.
I wait for the bounce back email. I wait for the bounce back card, and then I reach out to them.
Why hasn't this part of the Like, why hasn't this been lost to the internet?
It's been tried. Everyone has tried this so many times, and it's one of those classic problems that really shouldn't be a problem. And any product person looks at it and you're like, this is a ridiculous state of affairs, but no one cares enough to fix it. Is like the upshot in a consistent way, right? But you're right, Dave. Like from a first principles perspective, it's completely ridiculous that like addresses are not like you can't just like make an API call that turns an email into an address and hit send.
Will there ever be a future where we have like a authenticated social graph where my agent can talk to your agent?
No, Britt. This is never going to happen. This is what Sam and I are talking about. I mean, the sheer number of identity projects between all of us, it's like ridiculous. It's just an impossible problem.
My favorite is I've owned the domain openpreferences.com for like 20 years, right? Because you think about like, it's a classic thing. It's like all these people are like, height, weight, like dietary. You're like, I don't want to answer any of this shit. It's all the same questions. Can't I just have one repository of all of my preferences on everything and just like sit? And the answer is no.
No, you can't.
Why won't your agent have this for you, Sam? Like, isn't this where the world's going?
Because it just doesn't. It's just like no one it doesn't care enough. It's like it's from a first principle perspective, absolutely, which is why we all own versions of this domain 1,000 times over, and like it's obvious. And from a practical perspective, anyone who would care to work on this has higher leverage, more interesting things to work on. And it's just not that important. It's like, yeah, you're just going to tell you again that like I'm whatever my size and weight is, deal with it.
And even if you're a massively resourced company and you choose to work on it, you still don't solve it. That's what the really crazy thing is.
But you do through like Gemini and GPT is what I'm saying. Why?
This was like the entire identity focus of Facebook for like 20 years.
I know, but that was so long ago. We're at a new era, Dave. This is the future.
There is no question that every few years you have to rebuild everything and realize the same things again about how the things play out. But, you know, whatever. Maybe it's time to finally build it again.
Guys, I'm so bored. I'm just checking the surf report. So I just want everyone to know that's where I am in this conversation. But no.
What are your surf preferences?
And that's why it will never be built. Because it's too fucking boring, even though it's obvious.
It just switched the Friday forecast on me, which I don't appreciate because I'm kind of making plans based on it. But anyway, okay, Britt, I know you're going to have an awesome holiday card. Ours actually arrived early. I put very little thought into it. I took the picture in July. I was like, this works. And we're go. So.
Well, I will tell you what you guys are going to be very excited about is, my God, do I have a holiday gift for you? Jessica proofread it.
No, I did not proofread this.
Jessica read it and was like,
I read it and I said, put that in Gemini.
Is it AI slop, Sam?
it's so good. It's so good. It is we wrote a book, Our Guide to Etiquette. It's fabulous. It's awesome. You will get it at our holiday party, and it's going into wide release. Jessica, I made sure she read it before we sent it to print, because even I caught one or two things in it that I'm like, we're going to get canceled over that. And so we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to get hardcore canceled. No, well, here's the problem, Dave. I don't care when it's on the internet because you can always recall it. There is a thing about getting canceled in print that you can't take take back, right? Like, it's a little harder to that is the wrong gender role for that character. Let's just flip it, when it's on the internet versus whatever.
Oh, you wanted that level of reading?
Did you not read it that way? Because that's what I was worried about. I had to correct one or two of our comics where I'm like, even I think that's not the correct tone to be taking.
Well, good thing I like My Friends Canceled.
Oh, nice. That's a Taylor Swift reference, Sam.
Anyway, the book is amazing. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be in wide release. More or Less listeners, I will eventually post a link where you can get a copy, either by finding a Slow Ventures team member or by buying it using American dollars. But it's awesome.
What? No USDC?
Crypto. Yeah, give me some crypto.
Hey, there still isn't wildly. There isn't an easy way that I know of to do that.
Which says something.
It says something.
It says something about why crypto number go down right now.
No, crypto number fine. Crypto number down, crypto number up.
Crypto number.
It's just a number. What's in a number?
Let's start. We have a pretty, despite the dawn of the holiday week, there's a lot of news. And I think I try and mix up the topics a little. We all try to, but I got to say, I think today's looking like crypto, OpenAI, and Google. That's all I got. These are...
What else is there?
Wait, the Genesis Act. We don't want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, Brent, you want to start by talking about the Genesis Act?
What about Grok? I thought you wanted to talk about Grok.
Oh, right, and X. There's just so much news, I forgot. Okay. Brent, why don't you kick us off with a...
What is the Genesis Act?
Well, is the Genesis Act new or
It's
old?
not an act. It's called Genesis Mission.
The Genesis Mission. Well, the Genesis Act was created in July, and the Genesis Mission was created a couple days ago.
Wait, are these related?
Okay, I'm not following. You need to unpack this.
I was wondering why it was called Genesis Mission. It's the strangest name.
I thought the Genesis story was written 4,500 years ago. What are we talking about?
All right, Trump signed an executive order yesterday, which was called the Genesis Mission. It's a la like the Manhattan Project. He is calling a national effort to accelerate scientific discovery and innovation using AI. So we are going to build a shared platform with scientific data, leveraging all of our national laboratories and research institutions that use universities for supercomputers and expertise, and focus on national challenges, including American energy dominance, advancing scientific discovery, and national security.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is all in the Department of Energy. So this is entirely focused on scientific discovery related to nuclear, quantum, that realm.
The DOE is amazing. Have you guys ever read? There's a great book about the DOE and how crazy it is.
Most people don't understand just how crazy the DOE is. I don't even think they understand what it is, Sam.
I mean, but I don't even really understand what it is, and I even read the book on it. Like, that's the whole point of the DOE. Is it's like this very shadowy but very powerful organization.
Which, by the way, we should go into conspiracy corner for some small part of this podcast because a new UFO documentary just released.
Oh, my goodness.
There's an amazing book called Area 51, An Uncensored History of a Top Secret Military Base. Dave, have you read this book? It's fabulous.
Yeah, I read it at your house.
It's a great book. Anyway, there's a whole section about how powerful and unknown the DOE is.
Oh, yeah. Well, the DOE was, so just to give everybody the DOE was created during the Manhattan Project or directly after. It was related to atomic energy and the entire management, development, scientific effort around that and the ongoing matrix of activities.
It is the Manhattan. I'm going to get this wrong. The whole thing is the DOE is the Manhattan Project. It just kept changing names. And like there's all these like special carve outs where they get to do things that are like completely like inaccessible to the rest of the government. But it is like, and what happens is every time there's a scandal, they just rename it and it continues. That's basically the upshot, right?
Exactly. And that one of the more interesting things is they have all these levels of top secret classification that exist outside of the realm of all of the rest of the government's classifications. And so it's frequently used to keep many things secret that otherwise would be accessible.
Britt, do you want to, it seems like you have a reaction to this Genesis thing. What is it? What's coming up for you?
Well, so last week, Trump hosted the Saudi crown prince, right? And then I guess he had committed $1 trillion from the Arab nations. And now Trump signed an executive order.
Guys, is it me or is it trillion? Are we so like inoculated to $1 trillion now? Like
I don't even know what trillions are anymore. Yeah, what comes after trillions? Anyway, well, I don't know. I just think that's relevant because we're making an even bigger effort to be the leader in the world.
I can't wait till someone announces some sort of funding for $1 quintillion.
Definitely Saudi first, right?
My bet is Sam Altman.
I'm going to need $15 quintillion.
I just back to the Genesis Act, like, or Genesis plan or mission. I mean, innovation is great. Yay, innovation. I think, and sure, there are national security reasons to stay ahead. That makes sense to me. But it's also completely true that the US and China are one is not going to best the other in this war. I just don't. There's just no doubt. I've made this.
Doesn't that depend on your ideology?
Well, I mean, just in terms of, I was just referring to in terms of technical prowess, right? Like that wasn't a political statement. That was a like.
Well, I know, but I'm saying ideologically in technical land, there are a bunch of people who either believe that we're racing towards some sort of AI singularity where when you hit this point, you win and everyone else loses. It's completely zero sum.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is there's a whole ideology in the Valley. I mean, everywhere around the Valley right now that like this is the truth, that it's 100% zero sum, and whoever gets there first to super intelligence.
Because everyone watched the most recent Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie, right? Like it's like all the same thing, but it's just a reason to have a race, right? I think part of the thing is like people want reasons to have a zero sum race because they know what the fun part about zero sum races are. You can do whatever you want, right? Like if all the stakes, if you basically have a narrative where there's some point or something you achieve that is the end of the race, then like nothing else matters. And that's really fun, right? Because like you can just do anything. Whereas the reality is the more dirty real version, which you actually see out like Ukraine, Russia, like real conflict, frictionful world is like, that's not how it works. And it is kind of dirty and you don't get to just do whatever you want for the sake of a zero sum outcome. Right.
Which brings us back to the Department of Energy, which is we've been looking for a Manhattan Project ever since the Manhattan Project. And so here we are giving a Manhattan Project back to the Manhattan Project.
But there are so many problems with that analogy. Like one, the technology is literally bunkered away and in the brains of like 6 people. Here, the technology is literally open source. I mean, I don't know how many atomic.
You're saying in the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, and now the technology, like, these models are neck and neck, and it's sort of the nature of the technology itself, right? I mean, not that you can't have an advantage, but
people were kind of neck and neck on nuclear technology. The Germans took a wrong turn, and like I think the thing that
but it wasn't open source.
Oh, definitely not. But I'm saying there was like a highly competitive landscape to get there first. And the Germans like probably should have, and they screwed up, right? And then the Americans got there. And everyone will look at that and be like, that was a zero sum game. It played out and it had massive world consequences. Now what had happened within a few years? What happened in a few years is that the Russians stole it. Everyone stole it, right, from the Manhattan Project. And then you end up with this kind of like, multi-nation kind of relative balance of power again, right? So I don't know. It's like I think the thing is like it's almost like too intellectual to think about which version of the world this is. I think the zero sum game of like race to AGI. The question is whether that's like the right analogy, but it's a good story either way, right?
Well, I've noticed. I heard Eric Schmidt say this privately, and then I looked it up, and he said it publicly because and so I can repeat it. But he refers to this as the San Francisco consensus. And he's said this multiple times.
Global macro geopolitical way to refer to things.
I mean, it's such a Schmittian. Yeah.
It's like when people refer to the global South or these sort of, Davosian.
I agree.
But consensus is a great word for things.
But to be clear, he is skeptical of it.
Yeah.
And is it really the San Francisco consensus?
Well, this is what he says.
I don't know. I'm in a surf shack.
And he talks to more people about this than I do. So
what's the surf shack consensus?
What's the West Marin consensus?
I do feel like we're talking about consensuses and like Genesis missions. I do think it's time, guys. We need to like plant a flag and define something. Don't you think?
People are really good at branding. I actually think in some ways, I feel like the real era here is like, I think that California and Silicon Valley has gotten unbelievably good at marketing, right? Like, what's really changed in the last few years, like just incredible marketing, right? And there's a whole, I think there is a San Francisco consensus of marketing, right? That Elon, I think, is a major pioneer of that's extremely effective.
Yeah, it's causing some problems for a free, independent, and accurate media.
I think you can go back further, Sam. And you could say that when Steve Jobs died, we like forgot how to market. And then there was this lull. And then Elon came back with this incredible Jobsian style marketing. And now everybody's adopted it. And marketing is cool again.
It could be that the actual innovation of Silicon Valley is the greatest fucking marketing in the world.
But to be clear, what you're talking about in Silicon Valley getting better at marketing is just saying what Silicon Valley hopes to be true or wants people to believe and saying it enough times.
Guys, it's not that we're better at marketing. It's that we have the megaphones to be good at marketing because marketing is only digital these days. And like Elon owns one of the biggest channels for distribution, and Zuck owns one of the biggest channels for distribution.
Sam, who's crushing marketing in Techland?
Every CEO of every one of these companies who has the biggest megaphone.
So, Britt, just because you have a big megaphone doesn't mean you use it well. So who's winning?
Well, I would argue like the Mag 7 is like crushing marketing right now.
Because they have the biggest megaphones.
The Mag 7 is crushing marketing. Okay.
Yeah, Nvidia's crushing marketing. Sam Altman's crushing marketing. Like the private, Sequoia and A16Z is crushing marketing. Like I would just say that like this is the real San Francisco consensus is like there's a set of people who have like figured out marketing, and you know what that means? You get all the resources and all the smart people come to the North Bay and all the money, and then you get all the resources.
But those are the people with all the resources. Tell me someone who doesn't have resources that's crushing marketing.
No, but that's the thing. If in some ways, if you don't have the resources, you're bad at marketing by definition.
I know.
Here's what's happening. I just figured it out, guys. Thank goodness. No. I think what's happening is everyone's finding their tribes. So you're finding more messaging that you're like amen to, but it doesn't mean that the marketing is inherently good or bad. People are just going after their tribes.
Sam believes all of his marketing is good.
For my tribe.
Jess, you're making my point, which is there is no San Francisco consensus. There is a San Francisco consensus about the like AI singularity, but it's not everyone's.
No, I agree. I think that's true. But it's not, if you say A, it doesn't get a headline. So Schmidt has to say B.
First of all, but calling something a consensus is incredible marketing, right? Because you're like, I'm just asserting it's the consensus. Is great.
Eric Schmidt has always been good at a talking point. So
he's a great marketer.
Is there anything that's a consensus in 2025?
But that's why you just say it's a consensus to make it a consensus.
Well, which also is why we think everyone's good at marketing, because if people just say things that we like, we listen to them more, and then we think they've nailed marketing.
But Jess, you just made the key point, which is creator fund oriented. It's everything we're seeing, right? Which is this is an era of cults and tribes, right? Where you want super fucking core committed group of phalanx of people that are your true believer followers. And if you think about if last generation marketing was about it was about convincing everyone in America that like, brown hair was cool through like magazines and you had no targeting. The entire story of our era right now is screw that, right? It's go find your super deep tribe, and there can be lots of them, and they fight with each other and they overlap. But being good at marketing means you have an army behind you, right? And that means you have capital and customers, and you pay them and stock go up. And all the things, which again, you got to give Elon credit. I've always said this, and I mean it derogatorily and also not, is like, he's not a great technologist. He is the greatest marketer of our generation, right? And that means he gets all the capital and the people and the things.
He's also gotten rockets.
For sure, the best marketer of all time.
What you need for rockets is a ton of money and rope. Right. And then people who were like, I only have one option if I care about this stuff. Because by the way, lots of people love rockets, which is I got to go work for Elon. Like, it's an incredible play.
Blue Origin landed its rocket. It was, on a barge. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Right. They're like the Russians. They're like the ones who steal the nuclear project. And I don't say this negatively, but it's like once it's proven, it's like it's the 4-minute mile. Once you prove you can do it, you're going to be able to shave some people out of the thing that did it and redo it. That's not that hard. It's hard, but like if you have $200 billion to play with, you're going to get it done.
But don't you think also, I am still caught. It is so interesting to me how hard Google, the Valley, the markets, everyone has swung in the last 10 days.
I'm so sad I never made any money on this.
I know, Sam. I'm sorry.
Again, every episode.
Jess, I'm glad you brought this up because I had a chart ready for this.
Thank God, Dave. Someone who keeps me honest.
Which, by the way, has another great concept in it, which is the Google complex versus the OpenAI complex.
Complex. A complex is not as cool as a consensus, but still pretty cool.
Agree.
You kind of want both.
So, this is amazing. This is the difference in price performance between the Google complex and the OpenAI complex. Cotu put this out 2 hours ago.
Dave, explain what you're seeing for those that are only listening.
There's just two lines. The performance of the Google complex, which is Google, Broadcom, Lumentum, TTM Technologies, and then the OpenAI complex, which is Nvidia, SoftBank, Oracle, AMD, Microsoft, CoreWeave, etc.
So it's percent increase. It's 1 year price performance.
Yeah.
And it's tracking. And they sort of, through the first half of the year, through May, are pretty in concert. Then they both start rising through August, and then they diverge.
Diverge rapidly within the last 2 weeks.
And then the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Well, so this is relevant. There's been a lot of speculation, and we've talked about how Google's TPUs are going to challenge Nvidia. And my colleagues at The Information wrote a story very recently that had 2 new data points. One, Meta is considering and in very serious talks over spending billions of dollars on TPUs in a future deal. And then we had new details about pitches Google's making to banks about using them. And what's different about this is you wouldn't be accessing them through Google's infrastructure and Google Cloud. These would be models where you're selling or renting to other data centers, more directly competitive. And, there's been a lot of chatter about this, but I think the story was the first to show 2 new data points really on how Google plans to get these to market in a different way. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but a day or a couple hours afterwards, Nvidia tweeted out, speaking of marketing, a statement. We are delighted by Google's success. They've made great advances in AI, and we continue to supply to Google. Nvidia is a generation ahead of the industry. It's the only platform that runs every model and does it everywhere computing is done. Nvidia offers greater performance, versatility, and fungibility than ASICs, which are designed for specific AI frameworks or functions.
You know what that's not? Great marketing.
I was going to say, great or not great. I saw a tweet. Everyone's tweeting like, is Nvidia okay?
Well, if that were Elon or Sam Altman, they would just be like, yeah, Google thinks it's winning, but we're going to be the real winners here. Like they would say something ridiculous.
They'd be like, touche, stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. But they're being classy with their PR.
That's their first mistake.
Or old school. I don't know. Is it classy or just old school?
Look, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like there's 2 versions of the world. In a pre-Trumpian era, what you'd say is, actually, if you're NVIDIA, you kind of need 1 or 2 legit serious competitors, or you're going to get antitrusted, right? And so you're like, okay, like I actually want someone to fast follow me pretty closely so that I can point to them and be like, see, I'm not a monopoly, right? And so like, that would be like the old way of thinking, right? I think the new way of thinking is they're like, I don't know, they're like, they need new marketing people. Because like, that's clearly not the story. Now, look, the interesting thing is my understanding is like a lot of companies are already using TPUs as well through Google Cloud. Like a lot of the next, like, it's not like, this isn't like a new, yeah. So like, it's a change in business strategy or model from the say you can just like, right. But it's like, that's the thing is like, everyone's like, Google's already very deeply in the game here, and people are used to using TPUs, right?
Well, I also think that you got to caveat this a little bit in that they're familiar with some aspects of them, but not the old problem again of the software stack and CUDA and NVIDIA. So, and data centers have different designs. So this isn't like you flip a switch, but we reported that Google thinks it can get 10% of NVIDIA's business revenue.
Right, which means they actually think they can get 20% and they're going to undershoot it, is what they actually think.
So it's I love trying to analyze companies' PR, particularly because they deal with us one way, and then, 6 hours later, they deal with the public another way. And part of me is like, okay, speak your mind, NVIDIA, tell your story, put your statement out there.
Yeah, but like, you should have a better story. It's like their meme game is weak.
They didn't need to have meme games, Sam. Like they were winning the product race up until like 2 weeks ago.
This is what happens when you're too far ahead. You get lazy, and your weapons are not refined.
I don't think they're lazy. Jensen is the most paranoid CEO of all of them, which is saying a lot.
It's like, look, if your marketing team has been like, I don't need to do shit for the last 2 years because like the product sells itself. Then you get lazy. You don't have the war muscle. And then when something comes up, you're not like ready to go. Right. And this is like not a ready to go tweet.
Like that to me feels like what's going on here is that, we've seen this narrative shift over the last 2 to 3 weeks where people are actually starting to ask questions about this entire supply chain, right? Like, how much do these chips cost? Are they going to be able to have business models sitting on top of them? What's the depreciation, right? Like there's like a real sort of financial analysis starting to happen in the last, really, it's like that chart.
I want a t-shirt that says, "What's the depreciation?" It's a great t-shirt.
I've told you guys my Gavin Baker quote. We interviewed him in April and someone asked him the depreciation of a GPU and he said, "What's the meaning of life?" I thought that was a great quote.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a podcast that this hasn't been debated on in the last 2 weeks.
But
right?
I don't know. I think it's all vibes. Like, I sort of ribbed the Journal for like, the day after Nvidia earnings, their lead story on the front page was Nvidia results put to rest bubble fears. And the next day, it was exactly the opposite. Like they had reversed every word in the headline. And that doesn't mean... It just means you can't analyze this every 24 hours is what it means, right?
But they're paid to analyze it. How they have to sell at the newsstand. What's the paper boy going to sell?
I know. We're about to get a second print newspaper, everyone who's tracking the print newspaper.
I just think the numbers are getting extremely large and people are actually starting, like, I saw this letter to an LP letter from a fund that I'm an investor in that used the number of seconds to contextualize this, and I really liked it. 1 million seconds is roughly 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. 500 billion seconds is 15,000 years.
How is this useful to you?
It's just the scale of the dollars is insane. Like until like if you think about the 2010s, right? Uber raised something on the order. It was like 40 billion or something like that.
Which was insane.
Which was insane at the time, right? And so the numbers that we're looking at are just really, really nuts. And the revenue isn't there. And so I think people are actually like, that's what's started to happen in the last 2 or 3 weeks is people are starting to be like, where are we going to get margin from? Is the inference going to, cost come down? Is it not going to? Like, is TPU better for that? Is GPU better for that?
I think everyone's just looking over their shoulder and doing what the next guy's doing. I agree with everything you're saying about the uncertainty, but I think it's so uncertain that like you can't explain the market by like, and now people are looking at this and now people are looking at that. I think they're just reading the room. And when no one can read the room, they're panicking.
Look, can I give a different spin on it? Here's what I actually think a lot of this gets back to politics, right? Like, like from a political context. Here's what happened from my perspective. For the first, like half of the year, we had two problems. Trump in control, doing just Trump land, right? Like no challenges to it. And everyone understands debt overhang must make GDP go up story. So everyone's like, look, this is all fucking crazy, but Trump will make sure Trump will make sure we get paid, right? Like we're going to get paid somehow. Like I'm like not stressed about it because like, we'll cut interest rates, whatever. We'll just do what has to be done to make number go up. And so everyone's like, this analysis is all crazy, right? Like this whole, whatever, we're going to have a Chinese house, whatever. But it kind of doesn't matter because if it works, and you get the God scenario. If it doesn't work, we'll still get paid, right? Like I think the narrative broke a little bit with the midterms where I was like, ooh, like Trump less in control, right? And like if Trump less in control, then all of a sudden the analysis of like how we have to evaluate this completely changes, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is a lot of money. And like there is downside risk here, as opposed to it being like a free upside option, right? Is the way I would look at it. So I actually think this is a political economy story that's playing out in tech more than anything else. And then you have like Google firing up and blah, blah, blah. So I just think you have to contextualize it in that context.
Sam, I agree with you. And I think that was the Krugman take 2 or 3 days ago. And if you look at that chart, I should go find it. I mean, the fall in the crypto markets is directly related to the midterm elections. I mean, it happened almost in lockstep, which you could argue is the Trump trade unwinding, quote unquote.
Well, I just think I don't even know if it's unwinding. I just think it's like ultimately the irony of the crypto stuff is it's the ultimate risk on asset, right? And like, so it's going to be the first thing people pull from effectively.
Yeah, totally. But I think your argument that you just made is, that the Meg 7 follows crypto. And so I think if you overlay all of these charts, like you see the risk.
Well, it's just risk on
this happening across the curve.
Yeah. But it's not clear where it goes from here. I mean, I do just think the macro story is even more important than anything that's going on specifically in the tech world. And I think again, like I've always said that if you want to invest in the AI narrative, the easiest bet in the world is Meta because it's all upside, no downside. I stand by that. I think that's going to continue to be the case, and like that doesn't even matter if they spend tens of billions of dollars on the wrong stuff. If that happens, it doesn't affect the overall story. I think Google is the interesting one because there was a serious downside case, right? Which is the core search business. There was all these positives, but there was also this like big bogey to the negative. I think people have gotten comfortable that the bogey to the negative probably isn't going to play out, or at least not dramatically, right? That's the place where it's not going to be like a dramatic shift tomorrow. And they just have so many weapons.
I think they've gone more than comfortable, Sam. I think you look at that chart from Cotu, and within the last 2 weeks, people's entire narrative on Google has shifted into the positive.
Well, that was related to Gemini 3, though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But narratives can shift back. I'm curious what Brett thinks, because Brett, what are you using ChatGPT for?
Guys, I switched. In the last 2 weeks, I have become primarily Gemini, not GPT. I know. Well, and again, I will say every episode that I called. Oh, well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with switching. GPT has the memory of all my preferences and all these things I've brainstormed about. And I've been brainstorming.
You don't have that many preferences.
I do. I have you should see the stuff that I talk to GPT about in Gemini. But so I feel like I'm in a transition period where I'm trying to get Gemini up to speed on who I am and how I like my stuff and all the things I'm thinking about and working on.
You're going through an AI breakup is what you're saying?
Well, I wish I would have like an intake form or I guess I could export.
Hello, it's your entire Google search history, all your Gmail, your calendar.
But can I export my GPT into my Gemini? Okay, I might just...
Well, no, you can't export it in, but you can get it out. But I'm sure they make the file really awful and not readable.
Well, I want to do that.
It really doesn't matter, Brett. It does matter.
It does matter, dude.
The format, not in the era of GPT. This is my thing. Like Twitter does this. In the era of there was this era where everyone was trying to implement GDPR, right? And like download your data, which is ridiculous. And everyone's like, okay, cool. We'll give you the file formats. We're going to make them so unusable and broken. We technically comply, but good luck doing anything with the data you've downloaded. That did work. But guess what? Because I've done this. In an era of chat, it's so easy because you're basically like, hey, Gemini, hey, whatever. Here's my entire Twitter download your data file, which is intentionally broken, or my entire whatever file. Just fix it and use it. And it's great.
I don't think that'll work, Sam.
I also think the ChatGPT memory is a liability. Like I understand how the concept of memory is important, but in practice, I'll ask it about some physical ailment and it will be like, well, because you asked me about another physical ailment last week. I'm like, no, they're not related. Like, don't try and prove to me you remembered last week. Like, it's an entirely different issue. So I find it's not, I think you can move on.
I do think this is the stuff, though. This is the battleground because people are not going to switch. Same as like you don't switch between Apple Photos and Google Photos because you've just got all of your photos over there and it's a pain in the ass to move it. Like, it is actually a pain in the ass, Sam. Like, I get conceptually where you're coming from. Like, you're right, technically. However, the devil is in the details in that in order to export everything out of ChatGPT, it's an enormous amount of text. It's like a huge file. Like, you can't just download that into Gemini. Like, it's not possible.
The text is not like photos is interesting because it's literally like trucking around the files. It's just like a lot of bandwidth. Like, that is an actually interesting lock-in. I just went in ChatGPT file. I said, I'm moving to Gemini. Can you give me a full rundown of my preferences, et cetera, so I can use Gemini as well as you. It's like, absolutely. Here's a clean, safe, high signal rundown of your preferences styles for any AI to work with you. It contains.
It's not just my preferences, though. It's all the things I brainstormed.
It's not the preferences. Yeah, it's all the data.
Ugh, so much data.
It's not that much data. Text is small.
Just, you have to choose because this is the war, right? Like, keeping people...
No, that's the narrative of the war.
I don't think so, Sam. Like, I'm a user of these things, and I do see that Gemini 3 is good, but ChatGPT knows a lot more about how I think, what I've been thinking about.
The war will be won what do you guys think? I don't know if I believe this, but I say the war will be won with the easiest hardware access, which is where the world is going.
I don't agree.
Well, the world on distribution. That's it.
I just think that this is a real thing, that being able to talk freely to these things with a good user interface that remembers who you are, understands as much about you as possible, and then gives you the best answer. Like, Jess, the fact that it didn't understand that those two ailments were different is a problem, right? Like, but they're going to solve that problem, at least if you believe their narratives at all about their research stream. And so the better it knows you, the more it can answer questions for you.
Listen, I literally built the original theory of when I went to Facebook to work on profiles, take it over, was exactly this. The only lock-in is going to be memory. We need to get better at exposing memory, because that was the whole thesis. I will tell you, I think intellectually it's correct. I think when you get down to the practicality of how people use these things and their actual preferences or whatever, it just doesn't play out that way. It's not as much of a lock-in as you want it to be.
I guess like I'm going off my own personal experience, which is that I don't want to switch because it knows more.
Guys, it's 2025. It is so early. I really believe that. Like, and I do, to defend my hardware point, I just find increasingly the friction of like picking up my phone, clicking through to the app instead of just like talking to something, whether it's my phone or is.
Well, that's the meta case. That's your meta thesis.
Is impeding my usage. And what I really want, I was in downtown Burlingame. Fun fact, there are 2 downtown Burlingames. Who knew?
What?
I learned this the other day.
In old downtown Burlingame. And I instantly just wanted to know, like, what is the history of these 2 Burlingames? Like, as a mid-peninsula resident, I need to know this information. I didn't want to know enough to like click into my phone, decide if I was going to type, decide if I was going to use the automatic dictation. I just want to know. Like, I think those are going to be the use cases.
That's a long meta case, because you basically say that's why you have glasses. That's why you try to get. And then, by the way, what you're saying is that information.
It's a long new form factor. Yeah.
Well, but the interesting thing about that is it's not.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's long meta. Meta's like, keep going.
I would say, like, look, to me, I'd say that information, which is super fucking commodity information. Like, no LLM is going to have a dramatic.
Correct. This does not require an LLM.
Leg up on like, why are there 2 Burlingame? This is easy. So if actually most of the story is effectively Alexa 2.0, where Alexa actually works, right? Whereas like, these are not hard questions. Most of human questions are not hard questions, right? Everyone's able to answer them. There's no technical moat from that perspective. It's literally just who's closest to the person's face. Then like the correct strategy is to race to the face. I like that. Race to the face.
Yeah, I just don't think this captures the nuance. Like, go ask all of these systems. Ask Meta, what do you know about me? ? If you go ask all the 4 main systems, or 5, the same question, the context is wildly different. Meta knows literally nothing. Like, they don't have any contextually relevant information about you.
Sam is not arguing for the superiority of their AI. I think of Meta's AI. I think he's.
No, I'm just saying if the race is just to the interface. Here's my thing though. And this is an interesting question, is how nuanced really are humans, right? The easy answer is we're all snowflakes and we're all super special. And like, therefore, Dave, and by the way, Dave and Britt, you guys have specific tastes. I believe that you're in the 1% of special people, right? But I actually think most people are like not that.
Aw, thanks, Sam.
I'll be a snowflake.
I think you have a lot of preferences. Like, the reality is, it's like,
AKA we're aggro.
no, it's just like it's Coke or Pepsi. Like, it's just not that complicated. And I think if you just like strip it back for the vast majority of cases and people, it's like all this personalization content doesn't matter.
I think we're talking past each other.
Yeah, you're talking about 6 different things. But can we talk about hardware for a sec? Because at Emerson Collective's demo day, Laureen Powell-Jobs is...
They have a demo day?
What?
Demo day. I've been.
How does everyone have a demo day now? Can we consolidate the demo days?
I'm going to do a demo day.
Oh, fuck.
I'm going to do a demo day after your demo day.
There are no days left on the calendar between your etiquette classes, your demo days, your protests. When's your protest, by the way?
Oh, the one for it's. Oh, I cannot believe I forgot my shirt.
I know, Sam. It's okay. We can do it next time.
Okay. But guys, breaking news, and I'm going to give this one to Brett. Breaking news. Jony and Sam have settled on a prototype, which they will tell us in 2 years. 2 years.
2 years?
No. Okay, guys, this is not what happened yesterday. I watched this. This is not what happened.
That's not what happened?
No.
He said it would be ready in 2 years.
No, they didn't. There was a bunch of Lorraine Powell Jobs trying to get Jony to pin down a timeline. And he said, I can't talk about that. You can probably get more out of Sam than me. And then Lorraine said, then she said, well, is it 5 years? And he's like, no, much earlier than that. And she said, 2 years? And he said, probably earlier than that. And it was not a like, you're going to get this in 2 years kind of conversation.
Dave, I'm glad you went to the source. Thank you.
So what do you think, Dave? Is this 1 year? When does this ship?
No, I thought that their conversation was quite cool, personally. And I thought that their conversation was very interesting. Like, I think that the way that Sam actually framed the problem was kind of cool. He was talking about...
What did he say? I didn't see this.
He's a great marketer.
He was just talking about that they went to Jony and were like, hey, we don't really know what to do. We have this new type of computer that can reason and think, and it's clear that it should be better suited for different kinds of interfaces, but we have literally no idea what to make. And so could we work with you?
And Jony was like, give me $3 billion.
The other thing that I liked about what they talked about is that they talked about the state of the current internet, and that the internet and modern technology has really led us into this kind of attention economy where, advertising is the ruling model. Because of that, the feeling of using most of the modern internet is like Times Square. And they want to create something that's kind of the opposite, that, is more quiet, gives you more the feeling of like being in nature next to a lake or something like that. And I like that analogy, that is perhaps the opportunity of AI, that we might be able to create a better computing feeling.
I think we're just going to make way better ads.
I thought it was interesting.
Well, I also think, and I don't want to belabor this point, and obviously, but I am interested. Laureen is clearly in Team OpenAI in this battle playing out, and that she has had long-standing, obviously, relationships with Altman, and it's all relational. But I think it's interesting, and I do think that there's a time when it would have been awkward for her to be so openly endorsing what OpenAI is doing, given it's aiming right for the heart of Apple. And I just think it's interesting that she's deciding it's not awkward for her to do that right now. And I have theories on why that I probably can't speculate about, but I viewed this event as sort of the coming out of her allegiances in some way. Not that her investment was a secret. It wasn't. Not that her relationship with Jai, but Tim is her best friend or a very, very close friend. So to do something this publicly was notable.
I think if you look at the overarching themes of the event, they present a very humanist worldview in opposition to kind of a highly chaotic political world, social world, et cetera. And so a lot of what I think she was trying to pull out of them was this very humane, more humanist view of what computing might be, and that the ability to be, calm, contextual, proactive, without being intrusive. They talked a lot about joy and simplicity and being human-centered.
But all of that's marketing, Dave, right? Like,
I don't think that it is. It's a design philosophy.
It is a design philosophy, and it's designed to
Which is marketing.
No, it's design philosophy.
No, that's product. Not marketing.
No, but it is and I admire that design philosophy. I think it's a cool design philosophy, but it's also she's tugging on the heartstrings of the people who believe it, while most people are going to decide if it's just a better product or not.
Well, and just to be clear, I want to go back in the history of Apple and the whole relationship between design and marketing.
Do you really, Sam? Because look at who's on the other side of the podcast here.
No. I'm not. I actually want to hear these guys talk about this. One of the interesting things about Apple, when we talk about is it marketing or is it product, is Apple is the rare tech company where marketing is super freaking powerful and way more powerful than like the product managers on teams, right? Like Apple is driven by the marketing department.
No, I think that's a misunderstanding of how Apple works.
Well, explain how it works, because the way it's always been explained to me is that Apple is the rare company where marketing is super powerful, and like actually in Google or Facebook or places like that, the marketing teams are very unpowerful.
I've worked at Google and Apple.
So explain it, Britt.
They were equally as powerful. Go ahead, Britt.
I would say at Google, engineers are king and queen, like for sure. It's about the code. It's about how fast it is. It's about the A/B test of like conversion rate percentages at like the 100th of a percentage point. The analytical.
This is all 10 years in the rear view mirror, but that's how it was.
For sure, fine. I think at Apple, it is like product design, which inherently becomes marketing and engineering, but it's about what is the form factor? How are people going to use it? It's about the customer and the customer's delight in this thing. It's about Steve saying, like, we want to build the bicycle for the mind. We want to like unleash human capabilities through the devices we're creating. And of course, that becomes marketing too, but it starts at the design and the product.
Beyond that, Apple is completely human-centric in its worldview. And the marketing, Sam, to your point, is in service of a business model that requires literally selling a physical object to someone, right? Like since the beginning of Apple, they had to go to conferences and trade shows and make a better designed product through and through. And design is not how it looks. It's not the aesthetic. Design is how it works, right?
I'm just saying, I just think Apple starts from, I think, in my understanding, and you guys, I never worked there, but like the way it was always explained to me is that Apple was the tech company. When you think about the relationship product and whatever, marketing was the most empowered, right? And the most powerful as a relative. A place like Facebook or Meta back in the day, marketing was not powerful at all. Right. Like it had no role. Right. They were like the fifth person you call maybe.
Well, I think you're lumping together marketing. You're lumping together a bunch of things, right? So there's like.
Depends on what you mean by that.
Product marketing is different than marketing.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about product marketing as opposed to at Facebook, we had product marketing and product management. Product marketing was not important. Right. Like that was like an afterthought on a relative basis. Right. Whereas at Apple, it was very important. So when you talk about it's product centric, I think it's worth noting, look at the history of Emerson Collective and how these things fit together. It comes from a legacy with Steve Jobs that really put marketing and storytelling first. Right. In a way. And I'm not saying that negatively. I'm just saying that as a strategy so that when you then look at how Emerson Collective or how the narrative comes, maybe that's coming through Sam Altman, et cetera, it's not unsurprising to be like, we're a storytelling company first from that perspective.
I agree with everything everyone's saying. I'm just not sure it matters because I think like people are, well, I guess I'm wrestling with why it matters, right?
Well, why it matters is when you look at something like this story with Jony and Sam and the narrative of human-centric computing and like what's that? That's all a narrative, right? And then like you fit product into that narrative. I'm not saying that's a bad way to do it. I'm just saying it's different, right?
Yeah, companies have cultures, they have, and they have them for a lot of reasons.
I think it's also the business model. The business model of OpenAI and the business model of Apple are the same. And I've been making this argument on the podcast for a long time.
Wait, they're clearly not the same. They're exactly the opposite.
Just give me a second. Like my point a long time ago was that this is OpenAI is selling computer, quote unquote, right? Like people buy OpenAI, they buy ChatGPT Pro like they buy an iPhone. You use it, you pay for it. It is not an advertising driven model today. It might be in the future. I don't know. But they have to do marketing like Apple does marketing because they're literally selling a product that does something both utilitarian and gives people a feeling of joy when they use it, which is the identical thing that Apple does.
This will be interesting because if that is the thing that you believe, which I'm not criticizing, I'm saying if you believe that is their philosophy, what we're actually going to see over AI on the consumer side is a literal business model war, right? Because that is not what Google's running. That's certainly not what Meta's running.
I know. I think that is what's going on.
So
right?
Dave, here's what you should do, Dave. Dave, you need to go sit down with Kate Rausch, CMO of OpenAI, who's wonderful, and convince her of that, because that is not the playbook OpenAI is running right now. OpenAI wants us to think they're Meta, like explicitly. Everything that they're saying, public and privately, is to compete with Meta. They're talking about time.
It's because there's a lot of Meta people working there,
including Kate.
Literally, everyone there is from Meta.
Fiji.
Still, it's insane.
A lot of our old friends from Meta work there.
By the way, can we just put a pin in the fact that the Meta Mafia is actually the mafia in this town and nobody talks about it?
We could circle back to it as Meta mafiosos. I'm not sure you can weigh in on that.
You can't talk about it. Yeah, you're too biased.
Sure we can. The PayPal talks about itself.
It's worth thinking about this because, Dave, you have been very consistent about your vision of OpenAI as a computer. I thought it was a smart point when you made it 6 months ago and every time since. That is not how they think about themselves right now. Their CFO is on the call with investors talking about time spent and changing content moderation. Their CEO of apps is substacking about group chat, right? And to build your community, pull your network into this. Their own advertising is sort of going head to head with Google search with recipes and how to do pull-ups based on ads I saw that I was confused by.
But that's not how they're making money today. And that's also not how their CEO is talking about it on stage 2 days ago.
Well, but that's a huge disconnect because that is a huge problem.
But we started this by talking about the interview that was going on stage. So I'm glad you watched the interview. Also, relative to this point, we published a memo a week or so ago, or details from a memo, quotes from a memo, in which Sam Altman, ahead of the Gemini launch, but clearly when the team had been testing it, needed to rally his troops. And he said, the vibes are going to be tough out there for a while. He also said, it sucks that we have to do so many hard things at one time and many other things that you can read on the information. But I was struck by it because, it was fine. It's sort of like a tune out the noise and execute. But there was definitely a nervousness to it.
But they're trying to do everything. They're literally trying to be Google, Apple, and Meta all at once.
But it's a point of pride for him. He uses that as a rallying cry.
I get it. And I think he's sticking to his long-term vision. And that's what he should do as a CEO. I don't actually think anything is wrong with the way he framed that. And I do think there will be short-term a lot of misses because Gemini and others are executing really well and have more resources, but they have a long-term vision.
And better business models. I think this comes down to this business model question, which is everything that we're talking about, all of these random activities that we're listing out over and over again, are them trying to find a bigger business model than the one that currently exists. That's the real truth.
Because they have to justify a $500 billion valuation and figure out how to get more money to buy the things to fight all the wars at once.
Yes. Right now, they do two things. They sell computer to people and they sell computer to business.
Well, to be clear, they sell very little of either.
It's a lot of revenue, but not
compared to the people they're competing with.
Yes, I understand.
Guys, what they're selling as a computer is pretty much available for free. We can quibble on the margins, but the free version of Gemini is the number of people who are going to find the difference. So that is a big problem. That's not a little problem. That's a big problem.
Yes, which is why we're talking about this dissonance, right? It makes sense that the troops are talking about literally the Meta business model, right? Because the underlying hope, not current reality, is that they're going to be able to generate a ton of engagement and apps like group chat and many, many others, probably productivity, probably health, probably everything that will then convert into a attention-based business model just like Meta, right?
Well, that's just to push you. That is the opposite of the Apple business model.
I understand. Right. And it's also the opposite of what Sam said on stage.
Yeah. I think Dave is arguing for that they should change their strategy and align it more with the spirit of Sam's on stage interview.
I'm not sure, Jess. I'm not this is a very complex problem. I'm trying to correctly communicate what Sam was talking about and what was going on at this Emerson Collective thing, as well as these Apple questions. I don't know how to solve the business model problem, which comes back to the macro, right?
Sam knows his audience.
We talked last week about if ChatGPT is the Kleenex of a category, but it turns out that isn't the category per se, right? And that the distribution model is going to be more distributed. It's going to be through these other products. And I think that kind of sums up the dilemma.
Jess, do you have data on how much, like how do we think about this in terms of who's using which product and at what scale? Like, who has the best data on that? Like, how many DAU of ChatGPT is there versus Gemini versus Grok versus Anthropic versus...
I haven't looked at the latest, but Gemini and ChatGPT both have huge numbers, without a doubt.
But like, how is it like 1 billion on ChatGPT versus 400 million on Gemini? Like, that was what I remember last seeing somewhere, but I didn't know how accurate the datas are.
I would have to compare, but my sense is very healthy, engaged, hundreds of millions, very active.
But that's like the difference between Meta or Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, right? Like, Meta was always north of 1 billion DAUs. Twitter and Snapchat were multi-hundreds of millions.
But I think the trajectory matters more. It's like, because you haven't really been like comparable products. And again, look, ChatGPT could, if we wake up and OpenAI has, some new AI breakthrough that gets us closer to that San Francisco consensus, that could change the game again. I think it would change it for a shorter window, but it could again, right? So,
well, that's the point. Is there's no lock-in, right? It's like, as long as the only thing that changes it, was the original pitch, was that we're so close to this like game over nuclear style outcome that someone will get to first, and then everyone else is locked out, right? And like, that's not going to happen.
Back to the thing that we were somewhat talking past each other about, I don't think you can claim that there's 0% lock-in. I think that memory, not preferences, memory provides some level of lock-in.
Yeah, it's non-zero.
Yeah.
Do you think wearables are going to add more of a lock-in? Like, if we are measuring all of our daily quantified self?
No.
I think we've got to get back to the everyman here. Like, I think we have to, I don't know what analogy we're in, but it's like we've been through this like hardcore power user phase
and storytelling phase.
But Jess, that's why I'm asking you the DAU number, because I think it was Sam that said, or you guys maybe quoted it in an article, said something like ChatGPT is AI to most people. And I don't know how true that is, right? Like, if it's true that most of the DAU, like, in the world right now is in ChatGPT every day.
It's not. I don't think it is.
I would just like to know what the number is.
Noted. We'll get back to you.
There was an era where most of the world, AOL was the internet, right? And like, they had a lot of lock-in a lot of different ways. And you know what? It just doesn't matter long term.
I'm also not sure. I'm not sure you want to be AI to the world, to our conversation last week. I think that is an open question. Don't you just want to be like free shipping, cool stuff, faster answers to the world and free? Isn't that what you want to be?
Amen. I the idea that no one actually even wants to buy a computer, right? They want the outcomes from a computer. I think this is like the key thing. It turns out it might be that ChatGPT is Kleenex, but like Kleenex is like the plague, right? And like, you're like, I actively don't want.
Okay, that's a bit harsh. I will also say, as we wrap this segment and perhaps this pod.
Yeah, I want to go to the pool.
I also, God, Sam.
I'm sick of the surf shed. I want to get in the sauna or the pool.
I also am like not ready to like short OpenAI, despite everything I said. Like,
yeah, I guess that's why I'm trying to get to this question, Jess, which is like,
well, I guess I'd short it beyond, like, to some degree, below its current valuation. Yes. But I would not, it's not going to zero. It's not going to zero. And so
someone will buy it.
So I think that's really interesting. And there's a real puzzle in front of them. There are certain queries I prefer them to Gemini. They have a much more straightforward style. Gemini is so long-winded. I want like Gemini short, Gemini TLDR. And, they've got a lot to play with to do some cool stuff. But the ball is in their court again. And these things swing.
these things are not going to zero because if nothing else, they're taking dollars and turning into 20 cents worth of infrastructure, right? So the zero is not a number, right? Like if I sell you 20 cents of infrastructure for $1 and I take the difference, like fine. And I'd also say shorting in anything where infinity is possible. And even I believe there's some crazy case where there is infinity possible. You can't short that. That's the only way to lose infinity money.
I don't know. Like, is there an AI put in the market? Like, how far out would you play that right now?
I am too much of a fraidy cat to short things, even things I don't. And I wish this is going to be my next evolution. Is I'm going to learn how to be an adult trader of the public markets.
You're going to become a Cirque du Soleil gymnast.
I saw Josh Wolf tweeting a bunch about buying an AI put. Basically just like literally shorting QQQ, buying a put like 6 months out because there's no possible way.
Well, my thing was I was going to buy a QQQ short and to pair with a Google long. Right. Because I'm scared of I'm scared of market go down, but I think Google on a relative basis go up even now. And I'm just annoyed I didn't do it 2 weeks ago. Now I'm going to go in the pool to drown my sorrows.
You're going to be here in 1 week beating your brow again on this.
So should I just buy a bunch of Google stock then, Jess?
I can't give you an opinion on that.
Again, just buy the stock, Sam. You've just talked about it for months now.
I know, and I'm so much poorer because I didn't.
I don't offer investment advice. Dave, you wanted a conspiracy corner. I know.
Oh, conspiracy corner. Speaking of Department of Energy. Well, there's an amazing new documentary on Amazon called The Age of Disclosure. It's not that much new information, but it is a consolidation of all of these...
Of the disclosures?
Yes, of all the narrative around the UFO UAP thing. It's worth, if you're looking for something to watch over Thanksgiving, just check it out and draw your own conclusions.
Am I going to believe in UFOs after? Actually, I don't know that I have opinion, actually.
It's really fascinating to watch. I mean, there's a lot of really senior people that worked at, we're talking Marco Rubio is on this documentary, and that are talking about a lot of the various details related to this, that we have craft, that we have what do they call them? Non-human biologics, that we have been interacting with these things for over 50 years, that most of it is hidden in the Department of Energy, that we're seeing an increasing number of reports. Anyway, it's like really interesting to watch.
Well, Dave, you should download it. Do you use Enigma?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Alice Lloyd George.
What is Enigma?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the UFO spotting app?
Yeah, it's great.
Are you an investor?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it right now.
You brought it up.
You brought it up.
I brought it up in one very specific sense. All right, I'm going to the pool. Bye.
He leaves us for meetings. He leaves us.
Because it's just like we're over time. No one's listening anymore.
We could say goodbye to the people, Sam.
You got to sign off. Okay, friends, listeners, colleagues, random people who stumbled into this podcast via Sam's Etiquette School.
They can't possibly still be here.
I'm going to launch the podcast etiquette school, and Sam needs to sign up to be a student.
Guys, we need a way to compete that doesn't involve doing more things, because then we have no time for anything. I'm just saying.
The key is to just do them all less well.
We hope that by the time you listen to this, you had a nice Thanksgiving. We appreciate you listening. And we will see you back here again next week for another episode of More or Less. Bye.
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 If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a virtual high five by rating it and reviewing it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Find more information about each episode in the show notes, and follow us on social media by searching for @MoreOrLess, @DaveMorin, @Lesson, @JLesson, and as for me, I'm @Brit. See you guys next time.